You're listening to the Paranormal Peeps on the Darkcast Network. Come to the dark side of indie podcasts with the Darkcast Network.
We have cookies. Between the realm of the dead and the journeys of the living, join Josh, Jamie, and Elisa as they delve into the vast world of the paranormal and breathe life back into the history of the departed.
Do you have a story of survival?
A parent goes to residential school. You know, they haven't had that family connection. Those traditional values and ceremonies that many of us exposed to are taken.
Or have a lost loved one that was involved in human trafficking, exploitation, missing, or murdered? My name is Jasmine Castillo, and I am the host of Hands Off My podcast that brings to the forefront, specifically from Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Black Indigenous people of color.
Anderson County 911, what's the location of your emergency? Ma'am, what's going on out there? You're saying a baby's missing and nobody...
As well as nonprofit organizations.
When I was a private investigator 5 years ago, we picked up a case that was Shanice Harris' case.
That help and advocate families of lost loved ones with their closure.
From sometime from his shift at work to that next day, he was either robbed or apprehended at some point with someone coming into the restaurant.
And opening a cold case.
So that, to me, was his way out. And it negatively impacted Armani's investigation.
Please join me on Thursdays on any podcast platform wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are voiceless no more.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Peeps podcast. We have an amazing show for you today. Thank you all for tuning in and listening to us. My name is Josh.
And I'm Jamie.
And Elisa is unfortunately out tonight.
Yeah, she's got a lot of they're doing a really big home project, and so they're trying to get that done. And, you know, kids, her littles are out of school now. And
well, so is ours.
Ours isn't a little. He's almost 18. It's quite a bit different.
And he's out of school forever.
Well, until he goes back to until he goes to college.
Yeah.
So,
but that's a totally different.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus, we have one. She's got three littles at home, and they're still pretty young. So. Yeah,
it makes a big difference.
Oh, huge difference.
So, Elisa, we miss you.
We miss you.
But you guys get to put up with us tonight, which
and let me just apologize. I am so sorry. But we love that you're here to listen.
Absolutely love that you guys are here to listen.
We wouldn't have a show if it weren't for our listeners.
No,
so shout out to all of our listeners and our newcomers and people that have been here from the word go. We just appreciate you all so much.
So much. Thank you all for listening. And that's our show, folks.
And we're out.
Oh, wait. No, sorry.
Oh, wait, there's more.
So before we get onto our topic, we have a little bit to discuss about our upcoming event. We
do. So some of you know that last year we did a Halloween event out at Benson Miss Grill. So at Stansbury Park, which it turned out great. And everybody that showed up, I think, had a great time. You know, we got some really good feedback, and everybody really enjoyed it. And it was a lot of fun, meeting new people and all those things. So we decided that this year we're going to do it again. So it will be our second annual Halloween party / investigation out at Benson Grist Mill. And that will take place on Friday the 13th in October, which what better day? Come on now. What better day to go on a ghost hunt than Friday the 13th?
Exactly. Like, one, it's already a spooky night just because it's Friday the 13th, but it's a Friday the 13th in October.
In October, guys. So it's going to be a blast. We are almost halfway sold out, not quite.
Yep.
So there are still tickets available. Get them while you can. I don't know if we'll sell out. We're expected to, especially as October draws near.
Yes.
I think they'll go a lot quicker. But we will have a couple vendors out there. We're going to have Lavinia's Eden. She was out there last year. She sells like stones and crystals, and she does this amazing wrap jewelry. She does her own wire wrapping, and it's absolutely gorgeous. She also sells like loose leaf teas teas,
which are really good.
They're delicious.
We got some last year. We still got a little bit left. But.
Yeah, and what better thing to have in the fall as the weather starts to get more cold? You have these warm, delicious teas that you can buy from her. But she has so much stuff, you guys. I mean, and it's all wonderful. And her pricing's pretty good on it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I also plan on being a vendor there, and I will be selling homemade caramel. So I do caramel every fall and winter. It's really popular in the winter. I sell caramel, all different flavors.
I mean, I may be a little biased because she's my wife, but honestly, it is the best caramel I have ever had.
Yeah. So I have everything from original to mango to cake batter caramel. And these are all gluten-free. So nobody has to worry about if you have an allergy, they're gluten-free. I also plan to sell like cookies and fudges. I have like a butterbeer fudge that I make that I'll be selling.
Also really good.
Yeah. So I will have a variety of goodies to sell. We will be providing though for free, hot chocolate and apple cider, hot apple cider. And also probably like little snacks like bags of chips.
Yeah.
So
just little something just because it's
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at the end of the night, everybody who was there for the ghost hunt and such gets a little candy packet to take home.
Yeah.
Which is, I love putting those together, these little grab bags. So.
Yeah.
But we'll have photo opportunities. We'll have the terror dogs from Ghostbusters. We have 2 of those bad boys that are movie quality props, and those will be there, and some backdrops. So you have these photo opportunities. You can wear a costume. Just make sure that you wear or bring something to change into, because when you go out and ghost hunt, like in the mill, the big mill and all those sort of places, there's stairs, and we don't want you having any like capes or long cloaks that you can trip on, or masks that are gonna like kind of hinder your eyesight.
Yeah, or high heels or anything. Or flip-flops. You want to have good shoes when you're walking around this place.
Yes, wear good, warm, comfortable shoes, you know, and just come prepared with a flashlight. You don't need a lot of equipment. If you only have a digital recorder, that's perfect. You can get some really cool EVPs, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time.
I think it's going to be a great time, and I really look forward to seeing everybody out there and meeting new people and sharing stories at the end of the night of like what people experienced out there and stuff.
Yeah, it's always been fun. And then we also do demos.
Yes.
Usually on the top of the hour or top of every other hour, depending how the night goes.
Yep.
And those would be things like the Estes method and dowsing rods and
Ovulus.
And there's one other one. The portal.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So you guys get to see kind of how it's used and kind of investigate a little bit with us with that. And, you know, honestly, the last time we did an Estes method there, like everybody was laughing. It was absolutely probably the highlight of the night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole night was fun.
It was.
The whole night was great. And, but we'll also have a couple of porch lamps out there, the porch heaters, the big tall ones.
In case it's cold.
In case it's cold. If it's cold, we'll bring them out. We'll set them up, and you can stand over there with hot cocoa, and it warms you right up.
Yeah. And it is a rain or shine event. So be prepared.
Yeah. So, but we will post the link on our sites where you can click on and purchase tickets if you like.
So, and the tickets are available on Eventbrite.
Yes, they are.
But our links will be on our social accounts, so come find us.
Yep. And we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
A little bit of everywhere.
A little bit everywhere. So, yeah, we'll be posting that.
Absolutely. All right. On to our topic of the day.
Yeah. So, what is our topic?
We're going to talk about and tell Japanese ghost stories.
Cool. I'm game.
Well, exactly. Why wouldn't you be game for ghost stories?
Well, I don't know. Are they any good?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, how old are they? You know what I mean? Because, you know, like when you watch like a scary movie from like the 80s and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like back then it was scary. By today's standard, it's almost laughable.
Well, and that's the thing is like some of these stories are on the realm of ancient. And so they don't hold the same like scariness of it. But some of these stories were the inspiration for movies like The Ring, which I know terrified the snot out of a lot of people in the U.S.
Oh, I'm sure. I've never actually really watched those movies.
Like horror movies?
No, The Ring.
Oh, no, I haven't watched The Ring either.
Yeah.
But I did watch another Japanese horror movie. It was called The House. And I knew, like, partway through the movie, it was not going to end well.
Well, isn't that kind of all movies that are in that genre?
Well,
they don't typically end well for everybody.
No, I just mean like the ending was like bad. Like, like the end.
Well, give me an ending where it was good for everybody.
Well, like, so for like the ending of Poltergeist, right?
Okay.
They're like, we're done with this house. We're going into a hotel, and then they're like, at the end, you see the TV rolling out the door and the door closing. Like,
Yes.
that's a fun, good ending.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
Right?
Except for, it ends well, like they're all together, nobody's dead in that family. However, they're traumatized for life.
Oh, they're definitely traumatized for life.
There's lots of therapy sessions
Yes.
there that need to happen.
But then there's like, Scream movies, like the first Scream movie, right? Where the two killers
Stab each other
to death. Right. Another great movie. And that it was a good ending, right? This movie, when I say ended badly, like it ended in the middle of the story. Like there was no conclusion.
Oh, so you mean it's one of those movies that it doesn't wrap it up in a neat little package with a bow. It just leaves you hanging.
Yeah.
I hate those.
Yeah. And
was there ever a sequel to the movie?
Yeah, then I found out there was the House 2.
And did you ever watch that one?
No.
Oh, okay. So we don't know if they wrapped that up.
No, have no idea. So
I'm intrigued now.
But the funny thing is during the whole movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was this little kid that goes.
It sounds funny when you do it. But
I know.
I can imagine if a kid just did that, I would probably be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Right. It was it's supposed to be like a ghost kid or something, right? But it's like.
It's like a TV. If I smack it, will it come back into focus? And
yeah. Talk right. Come on.
What's wrong with you?
Or like The Forest, which would be considered a Japanese horror movie. But that one was good. But that one had the turn around.
Yeah.
That
was not a bad movie. Like it's more of a suspense.
Yeah.
It's not like bloody and gory a whole lot. So if you can
creepy.
imagine, it's creepy. So if, a lot of people watch it and go, oh, that sucked. That wasn't scary. And it's like, okay, picture yourself in that person's shoes, in that location, doing what that person's doing. Would you not feel scared?
I would be absolutely terrified. If I'm walking around, the suicide forest, looking for my sister, right? You're all alone. There's nobody around that you can see. And then you hear, turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pooping and running.
Well, you hear that, and then you see the little demon girl.
Oh, yeah.
And in the movie, she also comes across dead bodies. She sees things. She hears things. She almost kind of goes crazy in a way.
Yeah, it's like it's actually kind of reminds me of the Blair Witch Project, but
I think it's better than that.
Yeah, it was much better.
But at the time, the Blair Witch Project was pretty scary. There's a lot of people who are scared to go camping in the woods.
Are you kidding me? So I worked at an amusement park when that movie came out, and I worked in what's called the cash office. So I counted money all day, and we were the last people out of the park. We had to be escorted out of the park by security.
Right.
And we were waiting for the manager to lock up before we all left together with security. And she had seen the movie. We're sitting there in the dark. Sort of like there's like a light above the door, just one little bulb. And so it's, kind of half lit, half dark. And there's a noise behind us. It's probably a critter of some sort running in the tall grass, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
And she's like, the Blair Witch.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me?
No.
Just instantly goes there.
I'm like, that was a made up movie, right?
Yeah, but it still had a lasting impression at the time.
Yeah.
On a lot of people, because I remember all my siblings went, and I went, and my dad and stepmom, and we all went and saw this together.
Yeah.
And I remember it creeped you out. You look at it today and you go, oh, that is so funny. That's just ridiculous, right? But again, imagine if you were in this scenario.
Oh, yeah.
In real life.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that you'd be like, oh, that's not scary. You can't.
Well, yeah, there's stuff moving outside your tent at night. Like
Yeah.
shadows moving around your tent. Yeah, that's going to be terrifying.
Well, and your friends disappear and you open up this little bag and it's got like bloody teeth and bones and stuff in it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
You feel like you're being hunted,
Yeah.
taunted, like you're, cat and mouse here.
Yeah. Honestly, like cinematically, great flick.
Yeah.
I mean, and so low budget and they made so much money. What
Oh, yeah.
a great success story of a movie.
Yeah, exactly. And since then they've actually remade that movie or done a continuation or a more modern day one. And I haven't seen it. I'm a little curious to see what they did with that.
Yeah, but not
But-
like, oh my gosh, I can go see it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, it was made I think a few years ago, but it's a more updated today's version sort of thing.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. So we kind of got off a little bit talking about Japanese
Movies.
horror movies.
Yeah.
Right. But they're all part of this Japanese ghost story trend. So we always think of, at least in the US, right? October is scary season.
Yeah, for here in America, yeah.
It's like, it is that time. It's after the fall, harvest and stuff like that. So things, trees, the stuff's falling off the trees. It's kind of
Mhm.
spooky.
Gets darker earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people, started telling ghost stories around the campfire, the fires and stuff like that because they had nothing else to do to entertain themselves. Well, it's a little different for Japan. So Japan, they call the summer the season of kaiden, or ghost stories. It's when horror movies are released, magazines and television stations broadcast seasonal features about spiritual phenomenon, like supernatural phenomenon.
Mhm.
It is said that people telling chilling ghost stories during the summer because they want to cool off with spine-chilling tales.
I like that.
Yeah. So there was a ethnologist. No idea what that is.
You should have looked it up.
But his name was Shinobu Orokuchi.
Oh, yeah. I'm horrible at pronouncing
Names in general, right?
names in general, especially in another language. So please forgive us. We're seriously trying to do it right. But yeah, I know we're going to botch it.
Yeah. When it comes to the names, I'm hosed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute
We
host.
apologize in advance because we don't mean any offense. It's
We
just
don't.
really hard for us to pronounce,
Yeah.
So,
So he lived from 1887 to 1953. So he said that Japanese society began regarding summer as a season of kaiden because of summertime kabuki performances. They were called Suzumi Shibai, which means cool plays.
oh, nice.
And it included plays like Tokaido Yotsuya. Oh, boy. So sorry. Again.
You all can laugh here.
Yes. Tokaido Yatsuya Kaiden, or A Savage Tale of Revenge by the Ghost of a Murdered Woman. That kind of sounds cool. And then there's Rokuchi. He said that these kabuki plays with unusual stories developed from village folk art called bankoigen, and then comic summertime plays passed down from ancient times. So it's kind of just, these the cool thing about especially the far eastern cultures, they're so ancient.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, we got stuff from, 5 BC and 100 BC.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, we got stuff from 1492. We're so old. Okay. Japanese society gives particular importance to two seasonal events, Oshugatsu, or the New Year's Day, and Oban, or Bon, in the middle of the summer. During Oban, the souls of the dead are believed to temporarily return to this world, and some households still follow the traditional Buddhist custom of preparing a bodhana altar and mukaibi, or welcoming fire, to greet their ancestors. In ancient times, Japanese people thought souls temporarily come back to this world would include some muinbotoki, or deceased persons without relatives praying for them, and onryo, which are vengeful ghosts, which, we'll keep those away.
Well, I mean, yeah, as nobody I know wants to bring them in.
Right.
Yeah.
And then against this background of Bonkaiyogen. Wow, so bad. These plays emerged as a form of requiem for the repose of ghosts unable to rest in peace. So summer in Japan is therefore a season symbolized by the Oban events for spiritually interacting with the souls of ancestors and taking pity on unhappy ghosts. And then even today, summer continues to be the season of Kaiden.
Interesting.
Yeah. So go visit Japan in the summertime and go experience some of these really cool kabuki ghost stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just don't mind the heat.
Well, that's in a lot of places these days.
Yeah, that's true. So let's tell some ghost stories.
Yeah. I'm
So-
so enthusiastic.
So I have 3 ghost stories, and they are actually all of the old Koigen variety, the ancient art ones.
Oh, okay. Well, right on. I don't know how many I have.
I think you got 10.
Why do I have 10 and you got 3? Are yours like really long?
No.
Oh, you butt. So I better start then.
You better start.
Okay, so we'll start with parlor children. So before we begin this, one of the most famous Japanese ghost stories is known as parlor children. In one of the regions of Japan, poor families would often, abandon their children that they couldn't afford to raise. These poor families. And so they'd abandon them and basically leaving them to die. Yeah, this is not off to a good start.
This is Hansel and Gretel.
In a way.
Ooh.
In a way, yes. So, no, Hansel and Gretel, no. They were roaming through the forest and came across the candy house with the witch.
In one of the original stories, they were thrown down a hill by their parents.
Are you sure that wasn't on The Simpsons? Because there's an episode of The Simpsons where they throw Bart and Lisa down the hill.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I think that's what you're thinking of. You're a little confused, my dear. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. So, anyways, those abandoned dead children, okay, because they would die, would eventually come to haunt the homes in that region as parlor children. Okay, so the story goes that many, many centuries ago, in an unassuming village, there lived a kind, lovable man. So he was beloved by the other villages for his friendly and sweet nature. So just a nice man. He lived very well, and his family had, a home and enough money to make a comfortable living, right?
Yeah.
So one day there was a traveling monk, and he approached this man, this sweet, kind man, and warned him that he would soon fall into complete ruin. He would have no money left for his family to live or anything. So this man was, of course, if someone comes up to you and tell you this, you're going to be left feeling shaken, confused, and maybe even a little frightened.
Right.
You get a cryptic message like that, right? So the monk's words wouldn't leave this guy's mind. And then soon his dread and anxiety actually turned to fever and sickness. So as you know, stress can do some really screwy things to you.
Oh, definitely can.
Physically, not just mentally and emotionally, but physically. So he gets fevers and he gets sick and he eventually becomes bedridden. So this man was visited by the sound of light and quick footsteps from above. Now, I'm not really sure what that means.
Maybe on the second floor?
No, I'm not sure that that's what it means, but maybe. But the footsteps were thought to be that of a child. So little footsteps.
Yeah.
When the footsteps fell silent, right, they were replaced then by a voice. It also came from above, and it asked the old man, the old kind man, "Are you dead? Are you dead?" Then droplets of water fell on his head, and the voice warned him, "Limbo is very cold."
Limbo?
Limbo.
Oh, geez.
So then the ghost child finally shown itself, and this child was soaking wet from top to bottom, and it was dripping water onto the floor. And the man passed out from the shock I would have peed the bed before I passed out, but he's so weak, he can't get up and flee.
Yeah.
So when he did awake, the soji screens on every side were quaking and followed by echoes of childish laughter. And then he kept hearing the question repeat itself, "Are you dead? Are you dead? Are you dead?" So the fear consumed the sick and weak man, and he actually fell dead from the shock, leaving the house silent and unwanted. Because, rumors fly. Who would want it?
Right.
Who would want to live there knowing that happened?
But is that the end of the story?
No.
Okay.
So when nobody would even visit the home, much less buy it, the family fell into ruin, just as the monk had warned.
Oh, geez.
So the monk's warning was absolutely correct. But it begs to question,
Yes.
Why? I mean, it didn't say anything about him dropping a child off to die because they couldn't afford the child or
No, it
children.
sounded like they were well-to-do.
They weren't well-to-do, but I think they made a comfortable living.
Yeah.
So why did the child or children
Yep.
come back to haunt him?
Well, what if they are those evil spirits, those vengeful ghosts that come back?
I mean, it's possible, but in this story, it doesn't mention anything like that.
It
just
doesn't.
mention the children that were abandoned and left to die, like starve to death and die out in the elements,
Right.
would soon come back and haunt those that had abandoned them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say anywhere that he abandoned them. So it's like either the story's missing something or I'm overlooking something.
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure which.
Well, it's interesting, too, because the guy got scared to death. It's essentially what happened, right?
Well, and that is possible to be scared to death. And plus, his body was already weak with fever and sickness.
Right.
He was bedridden.
But if he was the only one, I'm wondering if he was the only one hearing this and then he died.
Mm-hmm.
So who told the tale?
I don't know. Well, that's why I think it's just like folklore.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Right.
But there's just some questions that I may not be seeing it.
I think I figured out what above means.
What?
So you remember like the traditional old Japanese houses, right?
Yeah.
They slept on the floor mats.
Yeah.
And so what above would have been on the ceiling.
Okay.
So he would have
above
heard
him.
footsteps on the ceiling above
Yeah.
his head, which would be terrifying enough.
Yeah.
And then those sliding doors.
Well, yeah, but it also gives no mention to, family hearing this or where was his family as he's bedridden and sick, because it says he provided for him and his family.
Right.
And they lived well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions I have on this one. And like I said, it's probably folklore, more than likely.
Most stories are of
Most
ghosts
are.
of the ghost variety or
maybe a version of an actual event. I don't know, like an embellished version. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, how often is there that one house, in town that nobody's lived in for years and it's abandoned and
Oh, I think everybody's got one of those stories.
Yeah.
Here's this house. It was so creepy.
Yeah,
On
it
our
was-
block or
it was haunted, like no one would ever live in there,
yeah.
and
There were stories about it.
oh yeah. And
yeah.
they get fanciful, right? Like
Sure.
all of a sudden every small town of 50 people has got a serial killer that's killed 50 souls in the house.
Yeah, and he died, but then his murderous spirit still haunts the house, and if you go in there, you'll disappear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So my story is Atsuya.
Which means
I don't know.
oh,
I don't know.
okay, have at it.
So, like I said, this is one of those woodblock prints, and it's called the Peony Lantern. It was painted by Sukoku Yoshitoshi, and is part of.
Sorry, Yoshitoshi. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If that is someone's real last name, I apologize. I just for us Americans, it's a great name. It just sounds, Yoshitoshi, like wishy-washy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? For it's just okay.
It rhymes too easily.
It rhymes too easily. Yeah, and just Josh's face when he said it made me laugh. But
Yoshitoshi's woodblock print, called the Botan Doro, or the Peony Lantern, is part of a final major woodblock print series, and it's called The New Forms of 36 Ghosts. Kind of cool.
yeah.
Which he worked on from 1889 until his death, which was in 1892. So Yoshitoshi is regarded as one of the greatest masters of the ukiyo-e, best known for his work 100 Aspects of the Moon. Toward the end of his career during Japanese rapid modernization, Yoshitoshi began to struggle from physiological stress, and after several episodes of breakdowns, he was committed to the Sugoma Asylum in 1892.
Aw, sad.
Yeah. Although the new forms of 36 ghosts were created at the time of Yoshitoshi's mental decline, the image of Botandora still shows the artist's mastery of composition and imagination. It depicts the beautiful Atsuya, accompanied by her otherworldly servant who is holding a peony lantern. That's the picture. So here's the story that goes along with that picture.
Okay.
Atsuya's story begins with a widower named Sinojo Agiwari.
Okay.
Whew, sorry.
Well, you're trying your best.
One night, Agiwari noticed a beautiful woman walking down a dark road. Beside her was a servant who was lighting the way with a paper lantern in a peony design. Agawari approached the beautiful lady and asked her name, which was Atsuya. He then invited her into his home, and to his surprise, she agreed to spend the evening, only to bid him farewell just before sunrise. The next evening, she appeared again, once more stayed with him until dawn. These nightly visits continued thus, with Agawari so consumed by an obsession with Atsuya that he isolated himself in his home and stopped going out altogether.
Oh, that can't be good.
No, that's never good. After 20 days, a neighbor grew concerned over Agawari's disappearance. Upon again hearing laughter and singing coming from Agawari's home, the neighbor peeked into Agawari's room, and there he was. And there he saw a shocking sight. Atsuya was not a young maiden, but a skeleton.
Yeah, that would be a little scary.
Upon learning the truth the next day, Agawari hurried to a nearby temple, where a monk showed him Atsuya's grave. There, on the grave, lay a tattered paper lantern with a peony design. The monk gave Agawari a magic charm which would ward Atsuya's ghost away from his home. Although the charm worked well, Agawari was already entranced and just couldn't forget Atsuya. One night, he got drunk and visited her grave. There, Atsuya was waiting for him, as beautiful and bewitching as ever. Agawari didn't return home for many days, prompting the concerned neighbor and monk to open up Atsuya's grave. They found Agawari lying lifeless, wrapped up in the arms of a skeleton.
Oh, wow. I like that story.
That's kind of neat, huh?
Well, I mean, not for the guy, no. But I mean, but yeah, it's a good story. I mean, yeah. And in the illustration here, this painting.
Yeah, it's a woodblock painting.
Woodblock painting is, I mean, yeah, it really kind of sets the scene for the story.
Yeah, beautiful lady walking with an otherworldly
A servant, yeah.
And he's got a peony lantern.
Peony lantern lighting the way.
Yeah.
So we'll have to post that.
Oh, absolutely. We'll post these pictures up.
Yeah, because it really does paint a good picture. So yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, so my next one that I have is called Old Mountain Woman. That's going to be me when I get old.
Old Mountain Woman?
I'm going to be the crazy mountain lady with the wild gray flying hair, much like that, the Banshee of America. That's what I'm going to be.
I'm going to put that on your tombstone.
America's version of the Banshee. Hollering up in the mountains. Okay. This one's called The Old Mountain Woman. And so many of the yokai to populate Japanese ghost stories are those of women. And so one popular rural yokai takes the shape of a man-eating ogre or oni.
Ooh.
Woman and she's said to reside in the wild mountains. So this is one of many Japanese ghost stories about mountain-dwelling ogre women. So they got a few. All women are ogres. No, I'm kidding.
Only ones that live in the mountains.
Only ones that live in the mountains. No, I'm joking.
I'm sorry, Park City.
Oh, now we know what Bigfoot is. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I solved it. Kidding. Oh, it's going to be me someday up there. All right. So the story goes, at the base of a very large mountain, there lived a family that had 3 sons. So on one particular day, the mom of these 3 boys, she tells her sons that she needs to go away for just a short while, probably to run an errand or whatever. And that they must keep the door closed no matter who comes knocking at it. Okay. So it is known
that's
to every,
wise.
Well, yeah, that's wise, especially in this day and age anyhow. Right? But this is probably way back when. So it was known to pretty much everyone in the area that a man-eating ogre woman lived in the dense forest near the mountain's peak. Okay. So if she knows that the boys are home alone, she will come knocking. So once the mother has given this warning, she leaves to go run her errand. She must have to go to another village because she's gone overnight. So that very first night, there comes a knock at the door. And the oldest son, he reaches the door and he says, "Who's there?" And there's a ragged voice on the other side of a woman that says, "I am your neighbor and I desperately need some help." And the oldest son refuses to open the door, which is good because his mom warned him, believing it to be the ogre woman in disguise. So then the mother's errand must have been like 3 villages over because the next night,
wow,
there comes another knock at the door. And the youngest son asks, "Who's there?" And the silky, soft, lovely woman's voice answers, I'm a friend of your mother's, and I am here to deliver you a message. And so the youngest son says, well, okay, show me your hand. And through the crack in the door, the youngest son spies this weathered hand with long fingers covered in very coarse hair. See, I told you it's Bigfoot.
It is Bigfoot.
And he refuses to answer the door. So wise. Then the third night comes around, and there is another knock at the door again.
Is it CPS?
Where's your mother? Anyways, the middle son this time asks again, like the others, who's there? And the voice of a woman answers, it's your mother. I have come home. When the middle son asks to see her hand, and he looks through the crack of the door, he only sees a soft, delicate white hand. And so satisfied with that, he opens the door. And then there, to his amazement, filling the door frame is the ogre woman. And she reaches out and snatches the middle son and devours him quickly.
Oh, geez.
So the two remaining sons then flee the house in terror. And as they go along fleeing, they're gathering up armfuls of stones and sticks before climbing a nearby tree that is so tall that it might reach the heavens.
That's a pretty tall tree.
That's a really tall tree. So the ogre, of course, still hungry, gives chase. And the ogre starts climbing the tree, and she makes it about halfway up the tree. And that's when the two remaining boys rain down stones on top of her head. The ogre ends up losing her balance and crashes to the ground. And then, of course, she's injured, and her blood, starts seeping into the roots of the trees. And that's the end of the story.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is don't leave your kids home alone for 3 days.
Yeah. Well, and another thing is the middle son, when the voice answered, it's your mother, I've returned home. Why'd you ask to see her hand? Why didn't you say, show your face?
Maybe because they couldn't see the face. Maybe like the crack's not big enough.
But see, look, if you hold your hand in front of your face, you're going to see a good portion of your face. Are you not?
Yeah. I mean,
like they didn't say, it says, show me your hand. It didn't say like it slid it underneath the crack in the bottom of the door. It just said they looked through the crack of the door, which means it's
the side. I was thinking the side of the door, like, where the latch is.
Yes. But it's kind of like the same thing. Like when you look through a keyhole or a crack in a door, you can see
Quite a bit.
Yeah. So why didn't the middle son say, show me your face?
Good question.
Instead of show me your hand.
Yeah.
Because you see a delicate, soft white hand and you think, oh, it's mom?
Must have. Because
I would ask to see the face.
Because before, what I thought was going to happen was the ogre was going to open the door and their mom's hand.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. Like it has somebody's hand from her midnight snack the night before. Yeah. Well, look at this delicate white pale hand.
But it sounds like the ogre women only go after young boys.
Yeah.
So that definitely is got to be one of those stories that you tell your kids to keep them in line.
Maybe it is. All right. What's up next?
All right. So up next, we got another of the Yoshitoshi series. So this one is called The Ghost of Okaiku at Soryayashiki. I will not say that again. This one references the eerie and woeful tale of a servant girl as she stands over a well, the place where her life ended. Despite the gruesome story, Yoshitoshi manages to convey Okiku's sad and ethereal spirit with great sensitivity. There's a cool picture. Illustrations. For all of the people who can see this on, in the room, since we don't have a video channel.
Yeah, but, we'll post this to our sites.
Yeah. So Okiku's story starts long ago when a servant woman, she was hired to wash the dishes for the Lord Himeji castle. Okiku's beauty caught the eye of the samurai named Oyama, and he became obsessed by her. He courted the young servant, but to no avail. One day, as a desperate ploy to possess her, Oyama came up with a plan. He hid a priceless dish, one of 10, belonging to his lord, and then questioned Okiku, "What have you done with the 10th plate?" Knowing such an offense was punishable by death, Okiku fiercely searched for it everywhere, but could not find the missing dish. Oyama calmly watched on. Finally, he made her an offer. If she were to become his mistress, he would tell the lord she was not to blame. Oikiku again declined, and at this, Oyama flew into rage and ordered the young dishwasher beaten and thrown into the well. Soon after her untimely death, Oikiku's spirit, or ghost, could be seen wandering the castle searching for the lost plate. You could hear her counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when no 10th plate was found, she let out a blood-curdling scream. It's said that even today, those who overhear her counting might fall very ill, and those who hear her make it all the way to 9 will soon die.
Oh, that's no fun.
See, that is a ghost story.
That's a ghost story. Yes, it is. Moving right along, our next story is called The Eyes. So the Makurenji, and I'll only say that time, also known as the Temple of Many Eyes, has been abandoned for as long as anyone could remember. So no monk, tended to the temple, but there were frequent whispers of like a fox or perhaps a tanuki roaming the temple grounds. Not like in Mario.
Oh.
But it does say tanuki. Tanuki, tanuki, right?
Tanuki suit.
So more whispers were told about the temple and why it had long since been abandoned. It soon became a place of legends and local myths, of course, as a lot of abandoned places do. And with children claiming that a man that is brave enough to last a night alone in the Temple of Many Eyes, would be rewarded with an evening of pure pleasure with the most beautiful woman in the village. Now, why is it always the man? Why can't the woman be rewarded with a night of pleasure from many men? Oh, wait, I think I have the answer to that.
Whew, you have to say
it. It's okay for men, not for women. BS. Okay. So during one of their autumn festivals, there was a traveling peddler, and he passed through that village. And after the festival was over, a group of local merry drunks made a bet with that peddler that he couldn't last the night inside the temple. So with a full bottle of sake in his hand, he enters the temple, gets comfortable, and begins to drink. So once night actually falls and everything's blanketed in darkness, the screaming begins. So from outside, the local drunks can hear the vivid wailing of that peddler as he howls. And what he's screaming is, "The eyes, the eyes." So, and all around him, peeking out from the old soji screens of the temple, there are countless eyes, and they appear and twist his mind.
Terrifying.
That would be terrifying. So come dawn, the village men peek inside to find nothing left of the peddler but a blood-soaked rag and a pair of eyes. His eyes.
Oh, jeez.
So now he's one of the many
sets of eyes
in that temple.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's okay, that's gnarly.
That is terrifying. That's a good one.
That one's not a bad one. I do like that one.
All right. So now we get into the last of the 3 great ghosts. And it's probably the best known, and it's called Oiwa.
Oiwa?
Oiwa.
Okay.
So this is in the work of Sunbashi or Sumbasai Hukuai, which is about 1837. So, I mean, fairly old.
Yeah.
Oiwa hunts her treacherous husband, appearing in the form of a paper lantern. Hokuai was a leading artist of the Osaka school of printmakers. He often focused on subjects related to kabuki theater, and his art would typically show figures in dramatic poses. In this haunting image, the masterless samurai, Aimon, is ready to draw his sword at the apparition of his former wife, who eventually causes him to go mad. And the painting is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. Like, that's a freaky looking lantern, dude.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
With a gaping mouth and weird eyes that the pupils are looking different directions.
Yeah, it's a little terrifying. That way we can look at it all directions.
I mean, I think I would go mad too.
Yeah.
Where's that sake? I need it.
Right. The story, known as Yatsuya Kaiden, tells the sad tale of Uai, who was married to Imon, a masterless samurai. Although her husband was down on his luck, Uai remained a devoted and loving wife and worked hard to support him. Meanwhile, Imon befriended an elderly and very rich doctor, Ito, Itoha, whose granddaughter, Umi, fell in love with the out-of-work samurai. As a doting grandfather, Itoa would use all his power to grant Umi happiness. So he offered Imon great wealth, a life of ease, and Umi's hand in marriage. That is, if Imon would rid himself of Uwa, and so Imon fell for this temptation. So out of work dude with no money, no future, gets offered riches and a life of ease if only he would just get rid of his wife. That's just a really bad tale to start. And the story is not even over yet.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing is that sounds like some cases, crime cases in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure in some other countries too.
Oh, yeah. It's just...
I just watched one today.
You're like, I just watched one right now.
So
putting their plan to action, Itoa gave Imon a mysterious powder to poison Uwa, slipping it into her food day by day. Uwa slowly became weaker and weaker. The poison ate away at her beauty. By the time she discovered her husband's insidious plan, it was too late. Feeling ill and exhausted, she noticed some of her fallen hair on the tatami mats, prompting her to comb and pin up her long tresses. As she stood before the mirror, she caught sight of her hideous, disfigured face and collapsed. The shock was her undoing. In her last moments of life, Uwa managed to curse her deceitful husband, and in death, her vengeful spirit would bedevil Imon. He would see her mutilated image everywhere, appearing in the faces of people he would encounter, and even materializing in lanterns. It was not long before Imon would descend into madness. So this was obviously a vengeful ghost.
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in particular, all of these stories captured imagination from the Edo period, and it appeared again and again in art and on stage in stories.
Yeah.
And these tales have been retold in countless variations. And so they have actually been made into The Ring
Oh, interesting.
and Yuan, which I've never heard of that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they actually pay homage to these three vengeful spirits.
Wow. I had no idea.
I know. That's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that they took it and turned it into, I'm sure
The big
it's-
screen?
Yeah, but it's probably loosely based,
Oh, I'm sure. But
like all Hollywood
junk
junk.
or good stuff. I mean,
There's some good stuff out there, but
There
I
is.
mean, when it hits Hollywood's hands, it very much gets morphed into something different,
yeah.
So
Do you have one more tale to spin for us?
one more, I got a few.
Let's do one more.
All right. So our final story, right?
Final story.
Our final story is called Shadow Woman.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So at the distant edge of a quiet village, there was a man who was sleeping in his home. And under the cloak of night, the shape of a woman peers at his door and knocks to be let in. He's still half asleep, but he shuffles to the door and he finds the woman there. And in her arms, she's holding a child. The woman then pleads with the man, explaining that the night is cold and she cannot feed her child and they have nowhere to go. She asks only for a bed for the night, but she doesn't explain where she has come from, how she found her way to his village, or who she even is. Like, he's never seen her before.
So some random stranger shows up at your door. Can I sleep here tonight?
With a kid in her arms. Yeah. So he kindly gives into her request and he lets her and the baby into his home. So he unburdens the woman, because she's tired of her baby. He holds the baby, but immediately he watches in horror as the woman fades into shadow and disappears back into the night air. So basically he takes the baby out of her arms and she just shadow gone.
So now he's holding a random baby.
So now he's holding a random baby. So he glances down at the baby to find it now covered with black fur and sprouting fangs. It's a setup, I tell you.
It's a werewolf baby.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So in his shock, he then drops the child, but then it too fades away before hitting the floor. So anyways, each night when it's cold out and the wind's blowing, the woman will return to his house with her child and then demands to be let in until eventually the man is driven mad and abandons his home and he's never seen again. So he basically goes nuts and leaves and nobody knows where.
That would be horrifying.
That would be horrifying to know, to witness something like that. You think you're being kind and you're helping this poor woman with her little baby, shelter her from the rain and the wind and the cold. And, this baby morphs into this creature, and then you drop it and it disappears. And then every night after that, she comes knocking with that kid in her arms.
Demanding to be let in.
Demanding, not asking this time.
Right.
Demanding to be let in.
Yeah.
Heck no.
No,
I would leave too. I would move
Yeah.
too, because
you would never like.
No.
Could you imagine like every time the wind blows and it starts to get cold,
you freak out, you get PTSD because you know what's coming? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No thanks. I'd move too. I'd go live in a tree somewhere.
Yeah, I would too. So we just want to say thank you everybody for coming in and sticking through and listening to these Japanese ghost stories.
Yeah, and hopefully you enjoyed them.
I hope so.
I don't know. I know sometimes that these ones aren't as fun as when we talk about our adventures, but we have more of that coming up too.
We do.
In the near future, so.
We do. It just takes time to review all the evidence. And so we gave you guys some yummy and fun.
Yummy?
Yummy.
I don't know if I describe them as yummy.
Okay. Just some fun ghost stories for you guys.
Some fun, short folklore stories.
Exactly.
From the Japanese culture, which I find very interesting.
I do too. It's always fun to hear other countries' ghost stories.
Yes.
And to kind of just listen to them and see what they're like.
Yeah. And there's many more out there. I mean, go out there. You can find them.
They're all over the place. And if you guys really enjoy listening to these ghost stories from other countries, let us know. Hit us up on social media and tell us, hey, like this was really good. And, can you guys do some ghost stories from other countries? Yeah,
we'd be more than happy to. Or that being said, if you have any ghost stories of your own, whether they be folklore or things that you've actually had happen to you or your family or experienced, and you'd like us to read them in a podcast, share them.
Absolutely.
Tell us your story.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah, we'd love to get more interaction from our listeners. We don't get much of it. We have a good group of listeners, but we're trying to get more interaction and we're trying to figure out fun things. If you have some suggestions for future podcasts.
Yes, there's something you'd like to hear.
Local legends from your area. That's another great one that we would love to tell.
Yeah.
Do share.
Please do.
Yeah, and we can put together a whole episode on these stories if we get enough people doing it.
Absolutely. And like always, everybody, stay ghosty, my peeps.
Well, I don't know. I haven't thrown anything since I only have one eye now. That was back when I had good vision and 2 eyes versus 1.
Well, yeah.
So I may be a bit off, but it's big enough. I'll get you. I'll clip you.
And it's a close throw. Let's face it.
Doesn't matter. There's a microphone and cords here hanging in the way.
Yeah, there's a few things, but yeah, I'm sure you could still nail me pretty good with it.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Well, you're not a small target either, so I could do it.
Is that a fat joke?
No, I'm not a small target. I'm just saying, close proximity, bigger target because you got broad shoulders.
Yeah, I'm gonna
big object.
I'm gonna take it upside the noggin for sure.
I'll knock those damn glasses off your face, and then you can squint and blink for a whole nother reason. I'm kidding.
The love.
So much love going on. All right. So moving right along, we have one that is called The Eyes. So the
Macarena.
Okay, we're going to cut that out. Okay.
Atsuya's story begins with a widower named Shinojo Ago. Oh my gosh. Hold on a second.
Start over.
Okay. Thank you for listening to the Paranormal Peeps podcast. You can find us on social media at Twitter at CPR Paranormal, on Facebook at Paranormal Peeps Podcast and Cold Spot Paranormal Research. And you can find us on Instagram at coldspot_paranormal_research.